Progressives, this is your trigger warning. Hi folks, welcome back. And those that are new, welcome. I saw this online, what the Democrats want. Now this is only a short version of the whole list, but I want to appeal especially to white suburban women, black women, that you vote, a lot of you vote emotionally rather than just solid policy issues. That's why I put this picture up there. Not elected to be nice, elected to get results. I want you to just sit down, all you women out there, and all you woke men, and there's quite a few actually, and look at this list and think about it. Put your emotions aside, if you can do that. Many can't. And look at this list. This is only a partial list. There's probably 10 times this, but I think this is enough. If you talk about each one, I can see that under no circumstances will a lot of you out there vote for Donald Trump. Okay, I get it kind of. But you can't vote for the Democrat in this presidential election cycle, and that Democrat looks like it's going to be Kamala Harris, who's the worst of the worst. I'm not saying that Trump is perfect and he's a prince, but he was elected to be, not to be nice, but to get results. Now, here's some of the short list of what the Democrats want. Abolish the Senate filibuster. It's funny, but the Democrats used the filibuster over 300 times in 2020, while the GOP only used it once. Think about that. Pack the Supreme Court. They do that in all kinds of countries, and it always turns out badly. One classic example of packing the Supreme Court is Venezuela, whose constitution is extremely similar to ours. In fact, they modeled their constitution after ours. What is there, 27 Supreme Court justices now on Venezuela's Supreme Court? That's the one mistake that the founders didn't do. They didn't put in 9 in the founding documents. They just want to add. So they're going to add 3 more. We'll make it an odd number. They're going to add 4 more if they stay in power and in control. Do nothing about the mess of the southern border. There is not a state now that hasn't been affected. Every state now is a border state. I'm not just talking about the criminal activity, the sexual assaults, the murder. I'm talking about sending 10, 20 million undocumented people. I have to say that because this website won't allow to say the other word. And what do you think that does to lower wage workers? And a lot of these lower wage workers are minorities. They're taking their jobs away from them. Period. Is that what you want? Allow non-citizens to vote. I live in New York, upstate, way away from New York City. And you get a regular driver's license here. That's a very good ID, by the way. Very good. But if you don't have a driver's license, you can get the same ID, because it's a good ID, and right across the front of it, it says non-driver's license. You want to give licenses out to undocumented people? All right, that's your thing, right? It's supposed to be for safety. Okay. Then put non-citizen across the front. Now, I'm friends with a couple of New York State Assembly members, and I ran that by them. And they said, I actually agree, but there's no way I could vote for it. So they're giving out these licenses to people so they can register to vote. Make no mistake about it. Gut the Bill of Rights. We can go right down the list. The 4th Amendment, the 1st Amendment, the 2nd Amendment. I read somewhere that in England, you can go to jail for saying things online. And the gentleman that was explaining it to the former Prime Minister of Australia said, guess how many in the United States have been arrested for that? And he said, in England, it was like 340 something. He said, I have no idea. He goes, guess. He goes, I have no idea. Over 10 times that. Over 3,000 people are sitting in jail for things they've said online. This takes the First Amendment and wipes your butt with it. Gut the Electoral College. They would love to do that. Now, in New York State here, we had the Assembly, which is very much like the House of Representatives, and then we had the State Senate. The State Senate had one senator for each county, whether you're a little urban county or a big county like down towards New York City. And that was the check and the balance. And they got rid of that in the late 60s. And that's when New York State started getting flushed down to crapper. Now they gerrymander the Senate seats, and it's a disaster. I know it is for me here locally. They gerrymandered SUNY Binghamton, where I live, where they let college students vote. And then they kind of screwed up the district and made it go towards Cornell, where there's a ton of students. And, of course, the Democrats going to win every time. It's just amazing to me. It's the tyranny of the majority. It's the things that Democrats have been screaming about and fighting about for decades, if not a century. The tyranny of the majority and what they do to the minority. You cut the Electoral College, that's it. It's over for this country. It's over. Defund law enforcement. How about defund the police? You've seen it all over the place. All over the place. Hey, look what happened. I know locally here, we got a progressive mayor a few years back. A lot of the older police officers just grabbed their retirement and quit and walked away. If you defund those, that's what's happening in the major cities, by the way. Officers are leaving, they're going someplace else, or just retiring. And if they could find new recruits to take the place of the officers that left, it makes the experienced ones very small percent. And that's just a breeding ground for doing something wrong or somebody dies. Is this something that you're for? Move felony crimes to misdemeanor status. I live by New York, so I'm going to use that as an example. How many times have you heard about somebody, we'll say, I can't use the word, unliving somebody in New York City or assaulting them so badly, they're hurt so bad, no bail? No bail. And they take these felony charges and make them misdemeanor charges so there's no jail and maybe a small fine, maybe. Look at all the BLM riots in 2020. That happened a lot, which ties in with the next one. Abolish the bail system. They were saying, well, you know what? People are innocent until proven guilty. So if you put up bail for somebody and they're low income or poor, that's very discriminatory to low income people while middle class and rich people have the money for bail and they can get out. But what you're doing is you're taking, we'll say, lifetime criminals and letting them out and go round and round and round. One guy was arrested, 14 times? Before the first time he got arrested he even came to trial. The crime rate in major cities is going through the roof. Here's another example. Make looting legal. How many people do you know, right? You always see the stories about all this huge group of people who will just go into a store and start wiping off the shelves and ran out. There's an actual law in California that if you steal less than $952, it's not a felony. Where the hell they got 952 from, I'll never guess. Just make it 1,000, but that's, I don't have the brain of a woke Californian legislator. It basically makes it legal. Pay for sex change operations for convicted felons in prison. I can't even tell you the stories that I've read. There'll be a biological male gets arrested and tried for a crime and sentenced 3, 4, 5 years in jail, and all of a sudden they want to identify as a woman and they're sent to a women's prison. And what goes on there, and the women there are sexually assaulted all the time. It's crazy. If you want to vote for Democrats, that's what you're going to get. And sure, parents have little or no rights to their children's upbringing. talking about mandatory shots for kids, for trans issues. A lot of the things that if you have a kid that thinks he's trans, the parents, new law just passed in California, says you can't tell the parents. The parents have all the rights, but not in their case. It's the government. It's Big Brother that has the rights. People that want to homeschool, they're having a fit because the government-run schools can't capture your kids all day and feed them with information as a parent you don't want them to have. And sure, new laws are created by the courts rather than by Congress. You know, a perfect example of that? Abortion. I'll be 68 in November. I remember when Roe v. Wade was, the court ruled on Roe v. Wade, I think it was 1972. And I remember when it happened. And it sat there forever. Now, even Ruth Bader Ginsburg, at the time, one of the most liberal judges ever on the Supreme Court, said, this is going to bite us in the butt. This is not a law. It's a court ruling. And someday it's going to be overturned. And she didn't die that long ago. Well, the Democrats have had the presidency, the House of Representatives, and the Senate, all three, a number of times since 1972. And not once did they try to pass a national abortion law. They think the courts and the judicial system are one and the same. Lately, that's more true than not, but that's not the way it's supposed to be. Does not want voter identification system. Like I said, if you want to be an unlawful immigrant here, undocumented, and you want a driver's license, I don't go along with it. Unless you have maybe a court case pending, then I might give an exception. You want to get a license because your hearing in immigration hasn't come up yet, and you're staying here until then. All right, I get it. And put non-driver's license or non-citizen right across your license. That way you can't use it as ID to register to vote. And if you go, say, try to vote, and they ask for ID, and your driver's license ID says non-citizen, you can't vote. But even if you're registered, because you registered unlawfully. These are the things that Democrats want to do. And this is only the tip of the iceberg. Only the tip of the iceberg. So those of you out there that are too far gone with the woke culture, I can't save you. If you can't save yourself, nobody can. But especially women, white suburban women and young black women that are on the fence whether to vote for Harris or Trump, and you just can't vote for Trump under any circumstances. But look at this. You look at this, you can't vote for Harris either. So either vote for a third-party candidate or just skip over that and vote down ballot for Congress and your local elections, governor, such like that. That's my suggestion. Because if you just blindly vote for the Democrat for president, you are agreeing with this whole entire list. Maybe you don't know about it, so that's why I did this video. Maybe you don't know, and the list goes on and on and on and on. These are just some of the small bullet points. Look at what you're voting for and who you're voting for. Even though they can talk all they want to, the Democrats, well, I'm a different kind of Democrat. I'm a more moderate. I don't agree with any of these things. Lie. It's a lie. The one thing I have to say, though, Democrats, especially in Congress, they vote as a bloc. It makes for great politics and keeping power and control, but it makes them lousy legislators. But the Democrats walk arm in arm, step for step, where the Republicans think are more independent. And that's great to have, but it costs you dearly at the ballot box. So there you are. What do Democrats want? This is only a small list. And if any of you that are on the fence about Harris or Trump see this, and one of these points here goes against everything you believe in, skip over the presidential vote. I beg you. I beg you, please. The future of our country is at stake. Everybody says this is the most important election in my lifetime. I'll be 68 in November. I think it actually is the most important election in my lifetime. Until the next time, God bless, goodbye, and good luck.